Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chair of the Aquifer Protection Agency. I would like to call this quarterly meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Michael Rossi.
Here.
Bo Clark.
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren. Here. Eddie Alberino.
Here.
Michael Florio cannot be here. Chinzia Lettieri. Jay Mandel also cannot be here. Zach Clourde. Dylan Walter. Andrew Brandy. Susan Marcus. Here. Brian Pellegrini. Here.
What about Andrew? I know we're done
Andrew
here.
Brandy. I did call his name.
Okay. Okay, I would like to seat Susan Marcus for Jay and Brian Pellegrini for Mike Florio. Okay, we have a quorum. First item, the next item on the agenda is review and approval of the October 6th meeting minutes from last quarter.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'd like to second that. Okay, that was,
All right,
Whatever.
any discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed, abstaining, carried. Okay, we don't have any old business, so we can move through that. We go to new business, which is some training information that Abby has prepared for us.
Okay, so this is just a quick overview and refresher for many folks on what the Aquifer Protection Agency is, what the regulations are surrounding it, how we fit into sort of a statewide program between us, the state, and the water company, and how we all work together to protect water resources for drinking water supply. And so we don't often have individual applications through the APA. It's been, I think, some time since the commission has really been reviewing things that are happening. We'll see a little bit of why that is. So we thought it would be a good idea to do a refresher and just give people an opportunity to have some resources for more training or more information as that goes on. So there we go. So this is just a quick thing. So we'll go through sort of the mechanics of aquifers very, very briefly. Kind of talk about what the APA program is, talk about our regulations and what we have on the books here, what training and resources are out there for folks, and then a little bit of next steps of what we can think about as an agency doing, as we go forward. So just really quickly, folks are sort of familiar, I'm sure, with, since the second grade of the water table, the water cycle, sort of piece of how water moves through our environment. So we have, precipitation that evaporates, comes back down and seeps into the ground. And we know that we have our ground coverage regulations and all the different pieces that are out there to try to protect open and impervious ground area to help that water recharge into the water table and ultimately into saturated zones and down into our aquifers. And so the idea being, the more water that can get cooled and kind of go back into those zones, the better. And so, so water sort of happens in this sort of space. We look at the groundwater when we're talking about aquifers and protecting those groundwater spaces and that water that sort of, kind of happens in that rock and soil layer way under where we're obviously walking now. And it's that groundwater that fills those spaces between the soil particles, the fracture rock, and that kind of stuff. And you see here, we'll go through a couple different aquifer types that Connecticut is sort of known for. So the aquifer is any soil or rock formation that's capable of yielding usable amounts of water for a water supply well. So there can be water down, sort of in bedrock that is not really accessible. You have the same kind of thing with oil, right? With fracking and stuff, you really can't get to it. It's not really considered to be an aquifer, but if you can get that water out and use it for a water supply source, that's what counts. Most of our aquifers that are in this protected area are these stratified drift aquifers. So this sort of gravel, sandy, sort of other deposit that is under the surface. And so that's kind of what we're looking at for the most part. We're talking about the aquifer protection areas. So what happens with aquifers is that they, in their natural state, that sort of water cycle continues, and they are the water that ultimately reaches into the ground is relatively clean. But as we add land uses on top of the surface of the world, Various things can seep into that area. And so whether that is, so things that are leaching directly from, whether it's landfills or hazardous materials, somebody is storing material on their property and those things leak, they get into the soil, that continues to perk down and get into that lower level into the aquifers. Groundwater it's water, it doesn't stay static, it moves. And so as folks are pulling out water in wells and things are sort of sucking in and up, those contaminants can make their way into the public water supply. So that's kind of the thing. And this is all from the there's a municipal aquifer manual. So I just sort of cut and paste some of these images from here.
Abby, has anybody checked out Panera Bread, that they're going in there? That's an aquifer, that whole.
It
that
is, and
whole
we'll talk a
area.
little bit, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but yes, and part of their review was we sent the application to Connecticut Water to see if there was any aquifer related concerns that would have to come back to this group as an agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of points. You seem to be referring mainly to public aquifers, but of course, every private well is into an aquifer
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
Also, there could be multiple aquifers under it, under any one point. You can drill down to the one, and then maybe underneath it, there's a clay layer that
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
isolates it.
So
And
in
it might
Wyoming, we're
be-
like 6,000 feet down to try to find water in some
It might
places.
be recharged in a completely different geographical area than the upper aquifer is.
Yep, it's not as simple as these images make it. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can even have different directions of flow in aquifers that are one atop another.
Absolutely, yeah. This is sort of the 7,000, yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
wrong place to go.
No, but it's absolutely right. It's not,
Yeah.
it's complex depending on where you're drawing from.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So in order to protect these water resources, and again, this is sort of these public, what the regulatory scheme is sort of this public water supply area is what folks are charged with under this agency. But you're right, anybody who is putting a pipe in the ground to pull up water is pull up whatever is in there. And we hear a lot about that, like in the Rocky Ledge neighborhood, right? With the work the WPCC is doing to sort of say, what is the separation distance between your septics and your wells? And those things exist for a reason, because folks are pulling out of sort of the same area. So the Aquifer Protection Area program is broken up into sort of 3 areas of responsibility. I gave some, you'll see throughout the presentation, there's some statutory references and other regulation pieces that are hyperlinked. So if you ever want to go read the actual statute, if you haven't so far, feel free. Won't pull it up right now, but there's 3 areas of responsibility. The state oversees the entire program. They provide training, they regulate major facilities, so large industrial sites, state facilities, those kinds of things. They also are responsible for helping to provide public education materials. And so some of the stuff out of this slide deck comes from them. And they also have some free training. There's an 8-hour course that we'll talk about later that is available to folks to take. And they create that. The town, we obviously are required to have the Aquifer Protection Agency, which we do. We regulate the local land use in a very specific way, in addition to the planning and zoning role, right? So this is very specifically looking at registering regulated activities. We'll talk a little bit more about what those are, but activities that may have the potential to contaminate that groundwater aquifer layer. So there's a registration process, or if somebody is coming in with something new, looking at what permitting might be necessary in order to make that happen. We also look at applications through the lens of, does this have any particular tie to the aquifer? Are there any potential for regulated activities to happen in here? We also have a public education component that's required of us. We can talk more about that as we get into sort of the town piece later on. Last, the water company, they provide us with technical assistance, so they can help us with the mapping that needed to be done. Before we had sort of GIS services and stuff like that, they help create lists of which properties are in the aquifer and which are out, so that we can go through doing kind of a survey of who may or may not have regulated activities on them. They also have to obviously protect the land around the wells, and we have a lot of Connecticut Water Company land around our wells, and then do the water quality monitoring for well fields. So there's about 80 aquifer protection areas in Connecticut. So it's not in every town. It's not something that you're going to see everywhere, but If you look down here, we have this one here, around the Indian River Shops, and then we also have our, stuff on River Road that spans across the Hammonasset into Madison as well.
Dylan, since you arrived at, 6:48.
So.
Determine the specific areas for aquifer protection.
So they're determined by it's the area of pull from the public water supply well. So anything where they believe that you have the opportunity to pull in the potentially contaminated water. Or they say, we need this land protected so that we don't have that problem and pull up it. So these are typically surrounding well field areas.
Thank you.
But it could also be a recharge area.
It could, yes, it could, yeah.
I mean, if you've got sand here and then you've got clay and then the clay is underneath it, but somebody pumping over there, you might have a recharge
Mhm.
area.
If you're gonna draw from that area, yeah. And that was part of that was one of the, when the act was first adopted, that was one of the things the state and water companies had to do was actually create this mapping to say, these are the areas we need to protect for the following reasons, so. So our areas, we've got sort of these three sort of general groups, sort of two main places, well, four technically, but two, a River Road and then the river area. And just to give you an idea of what that looks like on overlay, so here's Big Y over here, over here, the mall falls into it, so we've got some pretty significant commercial activity going on in here. It's one of the reasons when we did the approval for the clinic, we talked very heavily with Connecticut Water and made sure the separation between a hospital and this sort of clinic piece was very clear and what their wastewater management was going to be, to make sure that it had to, number one, come before this group for a separate permit, but number two, that it was permissible at all. So it was a sort of a careful consideration there. And then same thing, whether it be with the Panera, any of the uses that happen in that site will be looked at through the lens of, does it, rise to the level of being a regulated activity? And then the other pieces, up by the campsites and sort of down a little farther south. So the whole sort of River Road corridor there.
Is the lower one, is that where they have like the fire extinguisher or fire truck hooked up to? Or like a filling station or something?
I mean, like a pond?
No, it looked like there was a hose coming out, just, I had to drive up and down that road.
What is stand pipe you talking about? Stand
Yeah,
pipe?
yeah, it's not like for monitoring water.
No, I understand.
Like you hook up a hose to it or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So I actually don't know what that, I'm not sure what that pipe site is, so I'm not positive, but I can find out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think there's like a swing gate there or something.
Okay, I'll have to, yeah, I'll have to find out.
We have all over, so
Yeah.
I don't, there's so many of them.
Okay.
Oh, over, that's anything up.
So our Aquifer Protection Agency, so we have two sort of pieces to it. The ordinance was adopted here in May of 2004. It's established this group, Planning and Zoning Commission, was going to have the oversight and regulatory responsibility for it. And then it mandates the adoption of regulations. So this is sort of the beginning of the Aquifer Protection legislation that came through from the state. This was sort of the enabling legislation for locally. And then we get into our regulations. So if anybody hasn't had a chance to go through and take a look at the Aquifer Protection area regulations, they're on our website. If you go under boards and commissions, we have our own piece. They're linked right here in this presentation, so you can always get to them here. They were adopted in 2007 based on the state model regulations. There has since been an update in 2010 for some minor language updates that we might want to consider as we go forward for next steps, adopting and being consistent with the model state pieces. The regulations really, they define process and they define what is prohibited activity and what is regulated activities. The regulated activities are those things that may result in contamination of groundwater. So it can range from, like you said, storage tanks, gas stations. That's one of the reasons in the IBZ zone, you're not going to see permissible gas stations. And we've had folks call and say, well, could we change the regulations to allow that? And in this area, the answer is no, because you're in that aquifer area. So all of those pieces, vehicle repair, if folks are doing salvage, car washing, furniture stripping, pest control, any of those kinds of things, metal fabrication, if you're storing the icing materials, any kind of solid waste, textile, any of that kind of stuff, all kind of qualifies under these regulated activities. Every single regulated activity listed in our regulations is prohibited unless it was previously registered or you're coming in for a new permit and are under strict best management practices for stormwater management. So so if you don't have a registration or a permit from this group and doing those things, it's not allowed under this regulation. It might be something that is permissible under zoning, but may not be permissible under APA, so it's important to distinguish between the two. Residential and agricultural uses are exempt, so that's just something to kind of keep in mind. It's on the aquifer protection agent to determine if someone is exempt or not. Permits can be renewed or they can be transferred to a new owner, but only with your approval. So they don't have to do that without, so they can't sell the property and say, oh, well, you've always had this use, go ahead, you can't without this group saying yes. There are in the regulations best management practices that are outlined, so you can go take a look at some of those. And it can range from, how you sweep the air, your site. It can, sort of storing materials in an enclosed building with no floor drains, your cleanup plans, making sure if you have materials that they're burned appropriately and on something that can't, allow anything to leach in. So, and a lot of that has to do with covered storage, not just, asphalt storage, because over time things can crack and break and things go in, so. So that's important, how you dispose of materials, all those kinds of things. And then, so when, and procedurally, as folks are applying, you have to grant the other land use permits either with or before, issuing an APA permit. So we sort of do the planning and zoning sort of piece of it, and then if there's an APA component to this, you sort of technically go second, but the reality is we want to look at these holistically. So a lot of times everything will kind of come in one package for you. Enforcement, the zoning enforcement officer is our authorized agent. So Kathy is in charge of if there's any question about whether somebody is, operating appropriately, it's on to her. And it follows a lot of the same kinds of, well, it's interesting. It's a little bit of a hybrid between, inland wetlands type of enforcement and other and planning and zoning. So Kathy's options are she can issue a notice of violation and give people a date that they have to work with her, and kind of a deadline. She can issue a written order. That order is like the next level up of enforcement. And if that happens, we have 10 days to hold what's called a show cause hearing. So we convene this group within 10 days of issuing the order. And whoever is the recipient of that order would need to come in and sort of say, well, here's why I can or can't comply. From that show cause hearing, you can suspend or revoke a permit if one exists. You can also issue fines. So there are some pretty serious consequences if folks don't comply. So where are we now? We've reviewed our list of commercial properties in the aquifer protection areas. The last round of letters that went out to folks was in 2022, and I believe Jess from the water company was here and talked to this group at that time. So that was around the last time your training is when the last letters went out. We're right now researching to see if we can find any past registrations. I have not found a record of any registered activities. I know that there was talk when Kathy was first starting out as the aquifer protection enforcement agent. There were some visits to sites, and the water company helped with some of that kind of stuff, like to Indian River and Shumack and stuff, and they were found to be in compliance at the time. So we just kind of keep checking in periodically. So there's that piece of it. There have been no recent permits requested for new regulated activities, so nothing has come across in some time. Like I said, if we find something that is an absolute non-starter, we're telling folks when they call us and say this is not something. So some of the next steps to think about are to consider whether or not we review regulations to determine if we want to make any changes. This could be to come into compliance with the model regulations for 2010. It can also be to take a look and see if there's any more definitions that we need. The fee and fine structure is a little bit antiquated, and so we may want to take a look at those as well, and just see if those sort of still work for us. Again, we'll continue to revisit sites if there's any concern to confirm compliance, and continue to send the letters out asking folks to sort of give us an idea of what is being stored or done on properties if we have any concerns. So we'll continue to do that. One thing there hasn't been a huge amount of is public outreach and education. So I think there's an opportunity here to think about how the APA might play a stronger role in that. And the other part of it is training for all of us, and to continue that. Some resources for you. This deep municipal aquifer training. This is sort of the most in-depth free course that is out there. It's 8 hours. It's free. You can go ahead and register at your leisure. I think you have to complete it within 60 days once you start. But it's pretty thorough, and it will take sort of this very high level taste of this information and really help you get more into it. So one staff member is or member of the APA is required to take the training, but we're trying to get everybody through to the best that we can. So highly encourage folks to take a look at that. Other resources, Deep has a municipal manual to kind of help us in our enforcement and application review and all that kind of stuff. So we can go through and read that. So that's a nice piece. And then if you want just, something a little bit lighter, there is an APA program overview on the Deep website. So you can at least kind of get a little bit more than I've given you tonight, and that links to all the training resources and other pieces as well. A lot of our forms and, base documents and all that kind of stuff come directly off of that Deep website. So the stuff.
Where is the, model regulation?
The model regulations are up on the APA program overview. When you click on that page, it'll take you through training, it'll take you through resources, and it has a whole section kind of 2/3 of the way down the page, and they're right there. And I can send it, when we send this out, we'll give you a PDF that's hyperlinked, so you don't have to write anything down or anything else. Just click on stuff and we'll get you the separate link for the model regs as well. A lot of it had to do with registration lengths and lengths of permits for things that were either under RCRA or brownfields programming, and so some of that and municipal permitting. So it wasn't huge changes, so it probably would be a big lift to make the changes. And that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby. Not gonna have questions right now because we're short on time, but if you do have questions, please, contact Abby and follow up. With that, I'd like to, have a motion to adjourn the APA.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the APA.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any motion carries. Thank you. Okay,
7 o'clock.
you're gonna turn this off and then turn it back on, or for the next meeting?
We can just pause off.
Should run the front.
Should we just,
Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call our regular monthly meeting to order at 7:01. Will the clerk please call the roll? Okay.
Michael Rossi,
Here.
Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren,
here,
Eddie Alberino,
Here.
Mike Florio, not available. Shinzi Lettieri.
Here.
Jay Mandel, not available. Zach Lord,
Here.
Dylan Walter,
Here.
Andrew Brandy, Susan Marcus,
here.
Brian Pellegrini.
Here.
Okay, then I would like to,
Is Jamie's iPad, is that him and them? She's joining us.
By their case, right?
No, that's
Okay.
Jared Case.
okay, I would like to, seat, Susan Marcus for, Jay Mandel and Brian Pellegrini for, Mike Florio. We have a forum. Chair's comments, I just want to congratulate everybody on the, completion of the plan of conservation and development. Really, that fantastic, good work that got done. Particularly, I want to recognize those people who were on the, committee that worked on that. And Abby and Lori, who just did fantastic work. It was amazing. With that, thank you, everybody. With that, I'd like to go to the minutes, review and approval of the December 8th, meeting minutes. Is there any addition?
I had one comment, I guess I'll call it. On page 5, the last paragraph, the 6th sentence. And in that sentence, it says, this is not consistent with the town plan. I think that should be the comprehensive town plan to avoid confusion with the P O C D.
Very good. With that, adjustment, is there a motion to approve the minute?
So
Second.
Second, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. With that, we move to our public hearing. Ellen, would you please read the,
Yes, the Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. And this is the legal notice of public hearing of the Town of Clinton, the Town Hall Green Room. We consider the following, PZC 25 24 map amendment for zone change pursuant to section 4.2 to 4.20.2 of the Clinton zoning regulations, 109 West Main Street, map 33, block 10, lot 25, zone B4 and zone R20, applicant Michael P. Harkin, Harkin Engineering LLC. At said hearing, all persons who have the right to be heard, the applications and correspondence are available for public inspection on the town's website. Anyone requiring special accommodation to participate in the public meeting should contact the land use office at 860-669-6123. Michael Rossi, Chairman, Town Planning and Zoning Commission.
thank you very much. Okay, is there an agent or applicant here tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin, professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Here tonight on behalf of my client for their property at 109 West Main Street. The owner applicant is 109 West Main Street LLC. So we're here tonight for a simple map amendment. Reason being, if you go to the next screen, Ron, sure. You can see the site survey, A2T2 survey performed by Gessick and Associates. The outline of the property. It's there, and then we have a split zone B4 towards Route 1, and then R20 for the rest of the site. So we're here tonight, we'd like the whole zone to be made into a B4 zone. That allows us to further advance the owner's plans to redevelop the site. For those of you that don't know specifically where the site is, McDonald's is across the street. And for lack of a better term, the little cabins per se, encompasses the subject property. So we're looking at to change it to a B4 zone so we can come up with a future plan of development. A lot of people have asked in the past what our plan is. We don't know yet. We want something that's mutual benefit for the town of Clinton. We've already come in once and spoke with Abby and spoke with Kathy, kind of getting some ideas from them. And once the zone, as if it is changed, we'll meet with them prior to the appeal period being up to really start fine tuning it. But this is a project that will be moving forward. Our firm has already been signed on to design the rest of the next phase. So that's it for my presentation. It's really pretty simple. It's just a map amendment.
The, for those of you who haven't been on here a long time, we at one point were trying to change all of the properties on Route 1 that had this issue of being split, because the zone line, the way that it got drawn was before the map, before we had GIS. Somebody in the land use office took a ruler and said, went like this, and this far away from the street, and that's where the zone lines were. It had nothing to do with the property lines. So this is something that was a goal of the commission to fix. But we couldn't do it en masse because some property owners didn't understand what it meant. And they thought we were taking their property or, so, what this does do that you didn't mention is it really simplifies the process to do anything on a property. Because with two different zones, you have two different sets of regulations. It's very complicated and cumbersome. So, you're good. That's all history. The other thing that I remember strongly is it was people on Maple Avenue, the residential properties on Maple Avenue, that were most vocal in their objections, but you're outside of their 500 foot.
Yes.
So I noticed that was, but none of them were on the list, so you escaped that issue.
Excuse me? What do I like to know?
We'll go to the public in a moment.
All right.
Okay, with that, are there questions or comments from the commission?
Just for clarification, and I believe the reason this isn't a spot zoning thing is because we're actually expanding an existing zone, correct? And additionally, by changing this to B4, we're actually increasing the necessary setback from the residential land on both sides of this, correct? Okay.
Correct, because a 50 foot required setback between the B four and
And
adjacent
the residential, yeah, thank you.
Are you,
Go ahead.
are you familiar with the property?
Myself?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
then I have nothing else to say.
Yeah.
As long as you know about that property.
Yes.
That's all I got to say.
Okay, Dylan?
Is there a minimum requirement for frontage in a B4 lot?
There is, we can look it up. Yeah, the issue here is that it's a pre-existing lot, so they're not creating the non-conformity by this, so,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Frontage is
Right.
a
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, so I'll just ask you. Is there any plan for the residents and those?
Their application at this point.
I don't know. Can you address that? Are there residents in there that this?
Yes, there is.
Yep, there are residents, but right now there's no project being proposed. We're just saying,
Whether
just saying
it's-
planning. Yeah, we need to either deal with an R20 zone to redesign the site, or we need to go to a B4.
Before, so you're going completely into industrial business.
Correct, so the
Versus
owner,
residential, yes.
the owner has chosen to go B4, which does allow some residential in there as kind of a mixed use as well. But a project in general, we haven't made that decision, or he hasn't made the decision on which direction we're gonna go.
Additionally, this change wouldn't necessarily affect the existing structures there because they'd be pre-existing non-conforming.
Right, that would be a separate application.
Yes.
But that's not even a separate.
Yeah.
I know, I've knocked on their doors.
Okay. And any other comments from the commission at this point? Okay. At this time, I will ask for testimony from the public. We start with comments that are in favor of the application. Then we will ask for people who are in opposition to present information, and then those who have just general comments. So I'll start. Is there anyone here or online who wants to present testimony in favor of this application? Okay, hearing none, is there anyone here who wants to speak in opposition to this application?
I just wanna know, I live there, so I don't know how long we have to live there or was.
Address that to me and then I can address it to, okay. So if you want to make general comments and I'd put that in that category, please identify yourself for the record and, you might stand up so we can see you and go ahead,
Shannon Franklin.
okay? And you're a resident on the property, okay.
Can you repeat your name, please?
Shannon Franklin.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and, your question, you're concerned about how long you can stay on the property?
Right.
What was just that was just asked of the, outfit. Right now, they don't have a timeline because they don't have plans in place.
Okay.
I believe there's also some legalities to do with that too. I don't know the extent of which they are, but I know that there's certain things that, you know, you can and can't do with somebody that's renting a piece of property.
Correct, and it may not be the purview of this commission, but there are other protections and other rules to follow in terms of.
There are state regulations to do with that. I don't know the details of them.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add just something to that, if there's somebody that's in attendance that's a tenant, I would ask them to touch base with the landlord or the owner of the property for the direct answers. Yeah, I don't have them, and I'm the one that's physically designing it, so.
Right.
Nothing has been said to us,
Okay.
so, we just know that we're changing the zone and there's going to be some sort of project on there, we don't know what. Generally, when a project starts from start to finish, design, we're on a state highway, so we have to go to state traffic commission. Generally, this project will take about a year to design and go through the approval process. And then it even takes longer to get funding, so, I don't physically know,
Okay,
you know, your situation with the landlord or the property owner, so I would just call them.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's a good clarification. Okay. Anyone else that would like to speak?
She finally got the courage to stand up and.
Okay, with that, I just want to note there, that really encapsulates everybody who's here. So I think we've got all the comments. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission? With that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on Planning and Zoning Commission 25-24.
So moved. Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. We have a staff report for this, that talks about some of the legal issues on it and has a draft motion if we want to consider that when it gets to, full business.
Thank you.
Item 6 is new business. We have, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-22. It's a special exception for self-storage facility. This is, we're gonna receive this and schedule for public hearing. Is there an agent or applicant here today that wants to just say really short few words, since there's gonna be a public hearing?
Joe's on the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, because we're just receiving it, I'm just giving you an opportunity. Hearing none, okay. With that, I would like a motion to receive and schedule for public hearing on February 9th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay? Further discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries, thank you. Now we're to, old business, I mean, you got a different one. Appointment to the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments, Regional Planning Committee. I approached, Zach to ask if he would be willing to do this, and he, agreed. Eddie's already, representative for us. So I am going to appoint, Zach as our, second member. Okay, and thank you, Zach, for taking this on.
And so just procedurally, so what will happen next is Zach will move on to the town council officially, since the town council is the link to the regional planning commission, and so it'll go through that. So we talked a little bit about that.
But it's not a motion, it's an appointment.
Yeah, it's a recommendation of the town council appoint him, yeah.
Okay, so number 7 is old business. We zipped to this, we got, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-24, the map amendment, that we just closed. So, is there any discussion, that people have about, this change? Go ahead.
I think it's a reasonable change. I think it makes sense. It's hard to develop a site that's got 2 different zones on it. The change to B4 and even the part that's residential actually gives the surrounding residential district more protection from development, more space. So I think it's a no-brainer pretty
Yeah.
much.
I agree.
It's a property that's begging to be redeveloped.
I'm very much in favor of seeing something happen on that property.
Okay.
So you need
Anyone
an
else?
official motion to approve it?
Oh, we will need the official motion. I would use the language that,
We're submitted.
You have it.
was provided.
Oh,
Right.
second.
Hey, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
alright. I move to approve the proposed amendment to the Clinton zoning map and change the zone district to B4 for the entirety of the parcel known as 109 West Main Street. And as shown on the plans titled topographic survey and sightline survey of 109 West Main, AKA Route 1 and Boston Post Road, Clinton, Connecticut, prepared for Harkin Engineering LLC by Gessick and Associates dated June 12, 2025, and adopt the following as fact. The public hearing for the zoning map has met the notice requirements in section 4 of the Clinton zoning regulations and CGS 8-7D. The proposed change from R20 to B4 is consistent with the 2025 plan of conservation and development. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the purpose and authority outlined in section 1 of the Clinton zoning regulations.
thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Ooh, Dylan speaks.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next couple weeks to start talking. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we moved to item 8, which is committee reports. 8A is the Plan of Conservation and Development Subcommittee update. Do you have any update?
Well, we're done with our work, so.
A year later.
And it's been approved, and, I'd like to thank everybody for their assistance. Wonderful job to get this done for the town. And so,
We did a motion to disband the committee.
I think we do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, huh?
So
we
here's,
can't do
here's a,
that.
well, and here's a question for you. Well, a couple of things. One, it's up on the website if anybody hasn't seen that we still have, we've kept the POCD page. So all of our appendices, everything is there. We moved the 2015 out of that page. And as we scan in older POCDs, we'll put them there too. So folks can always kind of go back in time. OPM got back to us. We are on the list as of last week. They've updated their list. So we are now available for discretionary state funding over $25 a day. Our official date, I believe, is in 25, so we're still 2025 plan because it was based on the adoption date. And then in terms of disbanding, so the question then becomes the implementation portion of this. And whether or not you want to move this group into an implementation group, have a different makeup of folks. It's not something you have to decide tonight, but I think we do need an intentional way to keep this thing going. Otherwise, it becomes the plan that sits on the shelf and when it comes out when applications are before
I
us.
like that. I like that.
I think it would make sense to keep the group.
Yeah, keep the group going.
We all work well together, and I think it's,
Get his hand back
Yeah,
together.
I,
Andrew
when I
Brothers.
was thinking about it, what I was thinking is that we would, transition that to the regulations.
Yeah.
And for implementation, because, but if this group wants to stay together and, we just, and call them the regulations committee, morph them into the regulations committee, I think that would, they're already in our bylaws. So that way we can be getting this, we can continue to work on this, and they're the group that would be making the changes that are necessary.
That's good, Michael.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
So,
We need a motion
so I would, we have a motion
to appoint all of the members of the POCD committee to the
To the regulations.
committee.
That,
All those that are willing to do it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ellen just did.
Oh, Ellen just.
No.
I'll
Just second it.
I'll second that. motion.
Okay. We got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? The motion carries.
Sorry, I just suck up for you.
One more thing I have.
He wants some more.
So the next meeting would be February 5th, and we would, the question is, do folks want to continue on and do Zoom stuff? Do we want to meet in person? Just so we know what to schedule for those first Thursday time blocks.
Whatever
So the first next available one is February 5th, which for other reasons that'll come next in the conversation here, you probably do want to hold. Any thoughts on virtual versus
Doesn't
in
matter to
person?
me.
I always have the feeling, I think more gets accomplished with in-person meetings. It's just like,
I would prefer them to be in person if we can find space.
Alright, so we'll work on that and make sure that we can get a room of this quickly, and then in the future, we'll make sure we reserve it.
We have it scheduled 5:30 PM. Is that what we're gonna stick with?
It would be, so for staff, it's easiest because we're here, and we can, that way, if we wanna go more than an hour, it's.
Can we do 6? Cause I get out at 4, by the time I get home, get dressed.
Okay. How do people feel about 6 o'clock?
fine with me.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
mean, I usually have teachers' meetings on the first Thursday, so that gives me a little more time to get from the teachers' meeting here.
Good,
Okay,
good. You want it later?
Whatever.
6:15? Okay.
okay.
And my last P O C D question is, I'm working on the budget and some quotes for printing hard copies of the P O C D for anybody who would like one. The
would like-
full P O C D, the way that it's done right now is that we have our short start of it, and then we have appendices. Some of them are very long. One of the appendices is every single presentation that we had during the course of the meetings. So it's 400 and something pages if you print all of those things, and I'm not sure folks need them in order to evaluate. So what
I will tell you personally, I do not want a printed copy. I have downloaded everything.
Okay.
And I prefer to keep it on my computer.
Okay.
So,
I would like,
I would like a copy as well, but I don't need the appendices.
Yeah, what I was thinking was I could do the plan proper and then the future land use plan, because those are the two for application reviews.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's only, I mean, the future land use plan only adds 13 pages to the whole thing, so that might
Okay.
make more.
Can I
So
have one?
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Abby, what's our budget for production of that?
Yep, so the main piece plus the future land use plan is a little over $60. It's $60 and change. I have about, so what if you recall, we budgeted $80,000 for the whole project. And Resilient Land and Water came in at $70,000. We did one change order for 520 when Victoria did some extra outreach and website stuff for us. They were incredibly reasonable, so we have a cushion to be able to do this, so I'm not concerned about printing costs.
Could we get those Samsung trifolds to like put it, you can like fold it in your pocket and then pull it out whenever you want, like a digital.
Great. Yes, I will absolutely receive how finance responds. So very nice.
Tell
Talk about.
Michelle that came from Dylan. That'll give him another thing.
It'll be a
Not
leather
my
plastic.
mom, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So far, Michael, you do not want one and everybody else does, is that?
Sounds like everybody else.
Yeah, everybody wants to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, yep,
I'm happy with, that's how I'm gonna look at it.
Yep.
I don't wanna waste money.
Yeah, but you can go home to your wife, and say, honey, this is where I've been doing for a year.
You have 3 other copies.
No, I just,
And he just wants to hang it.
I don't wanna waste money printing something that I'm not gonna
Yep.
use.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, so the second item was sort of combined with that with regulations committee, so we're gonna schedule that meeting for the first Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
6 PM.
So that'll be, the first one's going to try to be here, we can get a room, if not. Future one, it should be.
and the
That'd be
the
nice.
two general topics for that one, we'll start talking about the housing bill.
Bless you, bless you.
So we'll start talking about the housing bill and how we may need to start approaching our regulations. There's a few series of planner meetings that are happening regionally, so I'll be talking to folks and kind of getting a better sense of what other towns are doing as well. We're all sort of navigating this together. So I'll give you the feedback about where other communities are going, kind of what you might want to think about. Yep.
Excuse me, did they make any changes to that? Cause I bought you that thing that was terrible. It was,
I mean, it's
did
adopted.
they change anything on it?
No.
Not even the punctuation. It's not even
Nothing
the-
is, no,
not even-
there, whether something happens in the session this time around,
Yeah.
we'll see. But for right now, we have a July deadline coming up relative to those.
That's terrible.
Buy rate pieces and some of the parking, there's elements in there that we'll need to address in our. regs.
Thank you, man.
So we'll go through and kind of give some recommendations. I think what we'll do at this first meeting is just kind of remind everybody what things are. Talk about maybe some approaches other folks are taking and kind of agree on how we're gonna go forward. The other piece is, our MS4, our municipal separate storm sewer, permit, which governs how stormwater is managed and how we enforce, folks making, clean stormwater regulations for the town, so you can't dump your paint in the catch basins and that kind of stuff. We are working with Deep right now. We have an audit, I believe, coming up at the end of this month, and one of the things that the town had committed to in its permit over the last multiple years is eventually updating the regulations to make sure that we're in compliance with the state stormwater quality manual.
Sure.
Because we put our regulations amendments on hold, we sort of said, okay, we'll wait and see how we go with the P O C D and then look to adopt. Now is really the time for that. We have references to this kind of thing throughout the P O C D, so it's certainly consistent with where we've been. Rather than wait to do it during the comprehensive piece, I think we're gonna be better served with Deep if we do it now. And so I'll be kind of crafting some language and sort of saying, okay, we're gonna bring this for your consideration, so we'll bring that as well.
Okay.
Abby, at the conclusion of our last meeting where we had the public hearing that Mr. Matthews had put forward, I talked about a suggestion to that I thought kind of incorporated all the commission's ideas. Is that something we could bring up at the upcoming meeting?
Yeah, and absolutely, and I think, I would look at that in context of the housing bill and sort of say, how do all these things work together and make sure that whatever we're doing is consistent with that bill and sort of serves all of the goals that we have for that conversation, yeah.
And one other thing, a while ago I mentioned that I think we need to redefine the bedroom, but I questioned, for septic purposes, if the state guidelines would override us, or if we can override the state guidelines.
Health, I think health is first.
Pardon me?
Health.
Okay,
So
so if we
typically,
define the bedroom as A, they can say, no, it's defined under the state as B.
they will only issue their permits under their own definitions. So what we adopt here will have no bearing on health. They will have their own process and their own regulatory requirement. We could adopt something different. If they're in conflict, whatever is more restrictive is going to be the thing that the property owner has to deal with
Okay.
anyway.
That's what we could do, because
Yes.
it's more restricted.
And I think that's an important point, because obviously we're pretty much we're aware that there are people that are abusing that, home office and using it as a separate bedroom right from the start. And the problem with that is not just the population issue, but you end up designing septic systems that are not
That's right.
correct for the amount of people living in the house. And, and that can lead to so many other different problems. So I
We
think that's.
have, Abby, did you ever finish that, you were gonna investigate the apartments that I told you about,
I don't know where we are with the.
Ms. Sellers,
The problem is, Massimino.
Massimino,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, we've
The problem
been-
is
Massimino. We know that
very,
a lot of those
very
are
difficult
two,
to
a lot of them
enforce.
rented as two
So I
bedroom
don't
and one bedroom.
Right to trespass unless the building official has a reason to be there. We can't go in.
I gave you proof, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but
Well, the lease that was given to us was provided for we went down to the original approved plans, and it was provided for one of the 2-bedroom units. There's two bedrooms
But
approved.
there's
in that
really,
building.
how many two bedrooms now? Because, and they said they're ordering, I mean, you guys.
We don't have,
You
we
guys-
don't have as enforceable proof at this stage.
Well, you got complaints to the building official, right? And they're waiting for closet doors, they're waiting for this, they're waiting for that, but they're actually used as 2 bedrooms, and that's gonna override that septic system that was made for 1 bedrooms, and now they're using 2 bedrooms, and he's getting 2-bedroom rent, that's not right.
Well,
I don't-
This
That's
is
terrible.
really though, an enforcement action that needs, to be done
What do we do about it?
separate from, it's not something we can handle from this committee.
But they made complaints to Kathy, they made complaints to Abby, that people paying for 2-bedroom, and the guy screwed him, strung him along and said, we're waiting for closet doors, so they actually have 4 people in there. I mean, so instead of 2 people, husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend, it's just not right. I mean, it's gonna eventually erode the system, it's gonna override that system.
The issue that we have is we had one unit that had a produced lease that we could look at and say, this is the lease for this unit that was actually leased as 2-bedroom versus discussion or a piece of, anecdotal information, which may or may not have merit to it, but we need something to back it up. In order for Kathy to enforce, she has to have something that she can prove.
What do you need, Kath? I can
I
get.
can't trespass either unless I'm invited in. And I talked to the building official. He can't just walk.
I know that.
So with getting access, and that's the other thing, I'm sure you guys will discuss this with regulations committee, I just can't walk into someone's home.
I understand.
Without being invited in, and I'm not sure how that's all gonna work, but that's gonna be
Well,
very
yeah.
difficult
Well, we'll have to go through, yeah, and there's definitely some opinion from the town attorney that I think is necessary, especially on how we go about this, because it is a difficult one to do, without some kind of document that we can say, or if there's an emergency call and somebody witnesses X, Y, or Z, that is very, very clear that now something meets the definition of bedroom, and health goes in. And they say, you now meet our definition, and out we go. This is now a violation. Health is aware of.
Yes, ma'am, okay, as long as health is aware and stuff.
They are aware.
I think another issue that's being overlooked here is that there's also a fire safety issue. I mean, if the fire department goes in, they're looking at a one bedroom, they clear that one bedroom and they don't realize there's another bedroom here that could have occupants. So it's a safety issue.
Well, I will tell you,
Commercials also-
that place couldn't
also-
burn down if it wanted, if you tried to light it on fire. It's got, I'm being serious, it's got every sprinkler system in the world, because there's water coming in from the upstairs to the second floor, to the first floor, water just following everything. So I mean, there's a lot of problems there,
But there's a lot of gray too. I mean, if you have an office and you have like a blanket on it and you take a nap, is that a
no,
bedroom?
you can have a,
Or is it an office with a couch? You
No,
know,
I'm
so it's
talking
like,
about-
where do
I'm
you?
talking about.
The language that I put forward, and again, it's just language that I made up that would have to be fine tuned by the commission, is to limit the opening. You know, it has to have, if it's not connected to the kitchen or any other room, it's gotta be, I can't remember what I wrote down, but it's gotta have an opening of at least 8 feet or something like that. So it kind of takes away that privacy. You know, that the requirement that you have a closet or something, I mean, that gets thrown out, but you throw an armoire in there.
Yeah,
You know, that really doesn't effectively change anything.
I would say though,
They put up a-
do you think about historical houses? Because we have bedrooms and there's definitely no way that some of if you would see our doors, like just the height alone, I mean, Dylan wouldn't fit. I mean, but but do you know what I'm saying? So like the 8 feet kind of concerns me because.
I don't mean 8 feet height, I mean width.
I know,
Yeah.
width. I'm talking about width too. I mean,
Well, I believe that, what is being discussed is in,
Future.
well, no. In view of apartment, complexes.
I thought we were.
Okay, if the rule is just dealing with apartment complexes,
Gotcha.
then it makes sense to have that.
You can make it a certain amount of units or more.
Right.
The language that I kind of drafted was any room other than a kitchen or bathroom that is not connected to the primary living area by an opening of not less than 96 inches shall be considered a bedroom. But I mean, so obviously that's just an idea.
So this is the thing, so assessor's office has one definition of a bedroom. Crab has another definition of a bedroom. Is this just creating a third definition?
That's what I
Well,
said, the building official, he said, what you have doesn't match what I have.
Really?
yeah.
So folks could be either in compliance or out of compliance with a myriad of different definitions.
Right.
And I think the work of the regulations committee is, as part of this conversation, is going to be, what are all those definitions? Let's lay them out together. And let's talk about what exactly it is we're trying to prevent and what we can and cannot reasonably enforce.
Or which definition we will use as our characteristic.
Exactly.
judgment. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the health department, it's gotta be somewhat close to a bathroom, and it has to have a reasonable right to privacy. The closet doesn't matter, it's just
Right.
if it's close to a bathroom. And I think the door has to be lesser than 48 inches to be considered private. 48 inches in width, if it's wider than that, then it's not a bedroom.
Excuse me, I think he definitely took advantage of it. So the next time that is, if it comes up again, Kathy should just do an inspection with Richard and do a walkthrough of every single room, you know? And then, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if we did that, well, the fire department did a walkthrough on that place, okay? And that's why I'm telling you that that place couldn't burn if you wanted to. So, but in the future, we should just do a walkthrough, you
Yeah,
and
but I
Richard.
don't have zoning authority to go into someone's home.
I'm saying before they have a CO, before there's a CO, you can go in there and see that this room is a 2-bedroom, it's got closet doors. This one has,
Doesn't define.
What-
I think that the important thing here is, so for this particular property, I believe at the time the temporary CO was being issued, I think you were actually out of the office for an extended period of time. I went out with the building official and at least I did a few of the apartments.
did you walk through all the
There were not
apartments?
doors on those wide spaces when I was in them, but that was
Right.
not representative of every single unit in the building. And then once once occupancy is granted, we don't have that authority to go back.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's
But
called the
before,
final
yes,
walkthrough.
before the C, but before the
But that's-
CO was issued, Richard went through every single one, and I went to several, and there was no evidence of 2-bedroom units. There were still the wide openings and no doors.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, but you officially got calls, right? About, you got calls that the people, they've been waiting for doors, they never got.
But we were not inundated with calls.
Okay,
Not
I
inundated.
think, we should move this to the regulations committee discussion.
We should just cover our butts in the future, that's all I'm saying.
That's why we wanna go with
Yeah.
with the regulations. That's
Okay.
all.
It's not your fault, I mean, the guy took advantage of it. So.
Okay, with that, is there correspondence for bills?
Yep.
Okay, now I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So. Bo, you got it, Bo.
Okay.
I didn't even raise my hand.
Sorry, Dylan.
Any further discussion?
No.
Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries, we adjourn at 7:39.